Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies. We're here today with the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. This is the commercial fishers, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion talking about the dependence on the Great Lakes and how that fits in with their way of living and their commercial side and both the historical side. What I'm going to do is ask Desmond. Desmond Groh is the head of their environmental department, and he's going to introduce the people at the table.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, I'm going to start left to right, ladies first. I'll introduce Cindy John. She's a GTB tribal citizen. She's also a licensed commercial fisherman, as well as captain here. So Cindy John. Next is Jeremy Rice. He's a licensed commercial fisherman as well, GTB enrolled tribal citizen. We're going to hear a little bit more as we get going about how long they've been doing this and some things like that, but I'll just make a quick introduction. This is our tribal counselor, Mark Wilson. He's also the chairperson of our Natural Resources and Environmental Committee. That committee is tasked with developing regulations on hunting, fishing, trapping, gathering, all types of environmental law and regulations, and submitting to our elected body, our tribal council, these recommendations, so the council can in fact turn those into legislation if they so decide. To my right, Preston Tyler. He's the first. He's got two boys named Preston. So Preston's a GTB tribal citizen. He's a licensed commercial fisherman and captain here as well on the Great Lakes. So with that, maybe we just kind of go around the table and let these guys tell you how long they've been involved in the fishery, and maybe a little bit about what kind of boats they're using, and then we'll just go from there. Just kind of let it flow. So, Cindy?
Okay, I'm Cindy John, and I'm half Ottawa and half Irish, and that's why I don't look like an Ottawa. My mom's from this community, and my dad's from down south. But my mom brought us back to her community before we were a tribe, and we lived here when Art Duhamel, the person responsible for pushing our fishing rights in the 1970s, was doing so, and my husband worked for him. And fishing, when Art talked to us about fishing, he said if we get fishing, we can get running water and bathrooms in our homes, because when my mom moved us back here in the early 70s, there was no running water or electricity, and everybody had to use the laundromat to get their water at, and so that was a big thing. And really what he was describing was that in order for us to exercise our treaty rights, the U.S. government had to re-recognize our tribe, and so we got federal recognition due to our fishing. And our fishing, even though it supports financially a small number of us that still go on the water and do it, it has impact for our whole community. And so that, to me, is the most important and valuable part of carrying on our fishing. It's our exercise treaty right. And so my husband fished with Art. I worked at our tribe for a long time and was sent to school by our tribe and worked in the planning department and worked in youth programs. And then I sewed nets for Art. And then in 1988, I went fishing with my husband, and we've been fishing together and having our own operation since then. My husband learned how to trap net, and he worked on a trap net boat. Then we started out on a 21-foot skiff, and then we moved up from there and had a boat built for us and traded that boat to the state for the big trap net boat that we have now. And so we've been through a lot with our fishery, But, the most important thing to me for being here today is the importance of that pipeline not breaking, and that, because if that broke, that would ruin our waters. It would ruin our waters. It would destroy our fishery. It would destroy our treaty rights, because that's how important our treaty rights are.
Yeah, absolutely, and I certainly appreciate you sharing that. And we're very, very worried about the state of that pipeline and the potential effects. So, my friend, how long have you been fishing yourself here?
I think it was on my own. I started part-time for 2 years in 2010. Started, and then I went full-time after that.
And what does it mean to you to be a fisherman?
This is more natural for me to be that type of career, I guess you'd say. Today's world, everybody has a job description. It fits me. It's tough as it is. I'd like to get to some points. I got to get rolling here. I'm not much of a protester, standing out in the street with a sign type thing. People do it, yeah, it's fine. I'm more of a sit down, let's talk about this. Not be at a meeting where the table is up there and facing everybody else. We're sitting all at the same table. That's what I'm talking about. We have the authority, I believe, being a sovereign nation, to do that. It's just the way I feel. I wish we'd put more effort towards that than standing in the street. That's just me again. I just like getting to the point. Too much talking. It bothers me talking about things. And I have some questions. They say the pipeline was past expiration date towards the life of the pipe. Who determined that? That's one of my questions. How do we know that's an accurate number? What is it? Could be less. Maybe the life is longer. We all, common sense tells us it's been in there for quite a while, and we know they don't dig underneath the pipeline and see what it's like underneath. I mean, we all know you let something sit on the earth, she takes it back, it starts rotting, disappearing. Yeah, it's going to be devastating. The way I look at it as a fisherman, commercial fisherman, I guess you could be a hook and line type guy too, but it's another invasive species to me, the way I look at it. If it bursts, that's another thing we got to fight. There's already, what did they say, over 200? Invasive species in the Great Lakes now, and we're having a hard time as it is staying afloat in the business. It's not like when Cindy was speaking when she first got into it. It's not like that today. Hopefully, a few years it'll rebound. Hopefully, things will start balancing out. Again, if that line goes, then it's just another setback. Yeah, the earth will take care of itself if it happens, yeah, over time. But today's generations, we're going to suffer. And then the animals, birds, everything involved in the water is going to suffer too for a few generations. So that's where I've come to, we got to use our sovereignty and really sit down and get this done. Have some true data on that lifeline, the age of the pipeline. I'm real curious of where is it really at. I hear a lot of this and that, but I don't know for sure. We only know what they tell us. it's hard to believe because everybody knows that with Native people is we get misled a lot. It's not that we're gullible, it's just that over centuries and generations, we didn't lie to one another. We just straight up talked to each other, and that's what it was. It was normal to speak the truth. Now we're fighting to get the truth. It's never ending today. So that's why I'd like to start calling meetings, have them accountable. Our tribe is saying that they want that the owners of that pipeline be accountable and responsible. It's nice to hear. Because just myself, I couldn't go out there and do it. So again, I'm just putting out that appreciation of their work, moving towards removing it. I don't know why they originally put it in there. It's kind of silly. Put exposed pipe at the bottom of the lake. So I heard that Desmond had this map where it doesn't have to be there. It could go around the Great Lakes. If it spills on the land, at least the land, it's a natural filter. And it won't take as long to clean up. But in the lake, that's just, I guess you'd say, a raw material. The water's already been filtered and come up. And it's going to be devastating. I don't want to babble on too long. I guess some points I just want to get going because I want to check out some water, see if I can get my boat in this certain area. It's just washing up and sandbar. So I'm going to beat the sunlight.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you taking the time to come today and to share that. And the comments on here that from people are very appreciative of you doing it and understanding too. And you made some very, very valuable points and some things that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of straight away as well. Especially about the not lying, just telling the truth the whole time. And that is a massive, that's a massive thing, and being able to sit around a table and even just have a discussion like this and be open and frank. So I truly appreciate you being here for that.
Oh yeah, likewise. Appreciate your time. Which I'm gonna keep going.
Take it easy, Jim.
Yep.
Find some new spots while they're here, is that?
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
It's pretty rough on it. Good luck.
See you later, man.
But Preston?
All right. Well, I got started fishing back in the 80s. I was not even probably. I was the last one to fish with Art Duhamel. Art Duhamel was the guy that got it going and rolling for us here. And I was actually the last one to fish with Art out on the lake. And he had a lot of qualities about him, you know, that I really appreciated being around him. He was a smart man, and got me going on fishing. At the time, I really didn't have anything else going, and he helped me. He said, "Fish, Preston, come on, fish." And I said, all right. So, but I've been fishing for quite a few years. Right now I'm on a little 21-foot aluminum boat. It's an open, small boat. It's the smallest boat in the fleet, probably. I do have a tugboat, but it is in disrepair, and it needs a lot of work to get it back to going, to get it right again. A lot of struggles, and you know, fishing isn't like it used to be back when I was fishing. When I first started fishing, man, you go out there and drop a little 300-foot net and come in with 600 pounds. Nowadays, man, you gotta go out and put 2,400 foot in net out there just to maybe catch that much. Whitefish are disappearing. Trout are there, and thank God people are starting to buy them up and appreciating the fact that they're a good fish, you know. We do have a lot of invasive species that we've been dealing with. When I first started fishing, there were clams out in the lake. You couldn't see to the bottom of the lake in 20 foot of water. You couldn't see the bottom. It was murky, you know. It was a whole different body of water. Now with the quaggas and the zebras and cladifera and just everything, it's taking the lake and just beating it up. And fish are suffering for it. I go to sleep and I have bad dreams about the fish. I actually cry about them. They're suffering hardcore, and it makes me sad. So I don't fish as hard as I used to, because if I don't get a call for somebody wanting fish, I don't go out. So my numbers are down. I don't know. It's just the pipeline 5. It's like Jeremy said. You know, I don't understand. Just to take and go. You know, we went all the way through wherever it starts. I'm not even positive where it starts, but I do know where it enters the lake and where it exits the lake is in a seriously bad area. If that thing ever busts, it's not going to be like a nice, it's probably, when it does, it's going to be the rough water, you know. Lake Michigan and, you know, Huron, Superior, they're known for how rough it is. Like that, it will get rough, and there's very few boats that can handle that chop. Whitecaps and big chopping waves will beat a boat up and sink you quick. And if there's water out there, that oil leaks, it's going to devastate our fishing. Just devastate. And it's just not us. All the rest of the tribes, everyone, it's going to devastate fishing. You know, you got your beef, you got your pork, you got fish, and a large portion of the fish are caught by tribal fishermen up this way anyway. And where that resource is going to get just decimated if the thing ever bursts. It needs to be out. It needs to stop. You know, for a millisecond, the prices of my fish are going to go up. For a millisecond, people will be, we better buy some fish right now. We better buy them now before they go bad, you know. And for a millisecond, we'll make a couple dollars. But if that does happen, and you know, if it stays there, it's just bound to happen. It just, it's going to devastate us. It's going to devastate. Nobody's going to be able to get the fish they want. And nobody's going to want to buy the fish once they find out oil's in the water. We've already went through the mercury scares. And you know, we got people coming around. Fish is good. But I guarantee you that I don't care how quickly they clean it up, it's going to be in the back of their mind as oil fish. It's not going to be the same. It's going to take them forever to come back around to fish. You know, so I mean, it could devastate everything, not just us, just everybody. I worry about it a lot. I do. I know every last fisherman here does. You know, we've got enough problems with just, you know, fishing in general without, you know, we got special interest groups that don't like us out there. We are decimating lakes, fish populations. I don't think so. And yet they can legally dump garbage, toxic crap into the lakes legally, and then they put this pipeline under. You know, it was just not a wise move. I didn't agree to it back then. I don't agree to it now. If I had the opportunity to, way back then, if I was old enough, I would have said no. I would have been. We could have stopped them, maybe. But it's there. It just needs to stop pumping, and I don't know. I could go on and on about it, but fishing in general, commercial fishing like we do, it's a struggle. You know, we go out and deal with bad weather and water and stuff is bad enough. You know, we have to go through a bunch of rough waters, and we do. Every last one of us. There are times we go out and risk our lives because that's what we got. That's all we have. You know, I choose to be a commercial fisherman for this tribe because it's something I love. I love being on the lake. There's no place I'd rather be. It's absolute passion for me to be on the lake, and I can't believe there are at times that I get paid to do this stuff because I catch fish. And if something like Pipeline 5, if it broke, it would break my heart too. And with that, I guess I'll stop.
Well, thank you. Anyone listening and watching can tell how much this means to you from your heart. Everyone at this table. And what would you do? Like, what would you do if you couldn't fish?
I'd probably have to go back to working on water tanks and bridges and sandblasting.
Have to get a land job.
Get a job, go back to what I used to do. And now that I'm getting older, I don't know if I could keep up like I used to. You know, pretty tough, but man, this is, you know, construction and working on that stuff up in the air and stuff. You know, it's like, I don't know if it came down to it like that, and that happened. I'd be lost.
So in other words, there's no plan B.
No plan B.
There is no plan B.
And
There's
it does
no
it,
plan.
it,
We don't even get retirement for fishing. We can only do it. That's all we can do, and that's you know, we invested everything we have. You know, you think of the amount of the loans that we received through the fishing fund, in their loans, and that's all money that's getting paid back.
Yeah.
That we invested everything, and like, you know, when you ask about recommissioning my boat, we paid $130,000 for that boat, and from, you know, in these years that, you know, since 2000, we paid off $75,000 for the new boat. We traded for it, and all the repairs or records of repairs. We just put $35,000 in that boat two years ago, and so that's our life, and we don't mind doing it because you invest in your equipment, and like Preston said, being on the lake, the smell of the lake, it's medicine. It's good medicine. and it's also, it's an important thing that we do. But the thing that gets me about this pipeline, and I spoke to you about earlier, is that if the lifeline for those pipes were 50 years, and it's 65 years now, I don't know how they keep treating those pipes to keep them from rusting, because you can't paint them underwater, you know. I've got to pull my boat out to do that, and also, why can't they? Where is the credibility and the responsibility to use equipment that is the right aged equipment, so that you know, because when we learned about this a couple of years ago, and Desmond brought us the information, they would not allow anyone to do that, you know, with the rules of America, that there's rules, and that those rules should cover taking care of that equipment, and that why, as I spoke to you earlier, my daughter plays the fiddle, and we were at a bluegrass festival in Marshall by Kalamazoo when the pipeline broke down there, and the devastation was horrendous, you know, what it did to their ecosystem. And that was a much smaller line, as I understand it, than what's running under the straits, in that it's not about me getting a job on shore. It's about what that's going to do to our system,
Well,
what it's going to do to our lake.
even so, you know, our nation doesn't tax our citizens, and so we rely on our resort and gaming enterprises to provide for our tribal government and our program services and the quality of life for our people. And that's one thing that Cindy had talked about, is what the quality of life was, you know, 4 decades ago compared to what we have built and what we have today, and we've done that together with the area that we live in, which survives off of tourism and recreation.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if those lines were to burst, it's going to devastate everybody's opportunity and the economy, and so there won't be.
Short
I
jobs.
can't. There's not going to be a land job for you to come do, because who's building in a devastated environment?
And then, you know, horrendously what it's going to do to our already challenged ecosystem.
Mm.
That, you know, I don't know what, it's beyond imagination. You know, I know, like, there's, like in the Gulf and in Alaska, they had horrific spills, and I know that this would equal or surpass that. And so, at the very least, I'm wondering, what is the accountability for this company to keep their equipment in good shape? What's their accountability for having up-to-date and safe, or at least replace the pipeline with good pipes that aren't, you know, that are new, you know, that at least have that accountability, that, because it just horrified me when I found out that these pipes are 15 years older, and what are they made out of? Steel.
Well, even with the new pipeline, though, I've heard stories of a couple different ones in particular where a ship has gotten stuck in the ice and has had to drop anchor.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
it drug that anchor across a power line and detached a
Like,
cable going
my
across over to
husband-
Mackinac, and that had
Well,
they
my
been
husband-
further down, it would have drugged across that pipeline.
My husband asked me this morning, why can't they just put a new pipeline in and run it on the bridge? Why can't they
Yeah.
run it above the water on the bridge if they gotta go
Well, I don't
across
know,
there?
If it's rain
I
oil.
would say this though.
I don't think it's good to go across there anyway, but at least there's, you know, they're not even being accountable
What it
for.
boils down to, it's not coming to Michigan either. It's just going through Michigan.
Bingo.
Right.
So we're
So
not receiving any benefits, so
what do-
why even let them?
None.
Whether
Well,
it's new
why
or
be-
state of the art or
yeah.
anything.
Why put yourself at that risk?
Get it out.
Yeah, and that if there's, you know, it's just the point that they're not being, even running it through Michigan, they're not doing it the most safe way, because they're letting old equipment be there. And like you said, if a ship got caught on it,
Yeah.
and with the lowering water levels and all, that I guess I'm just praying that they fix it and they find an alternate route, and that we don't have to go to bed with this fear. That's my.
What's the significance of the water itself to you for your culture, for your tribe, as opposed to just being as a commercial fisherman, as a tribal fisherman? What's the significance of the water to you?
That's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why our community's located here. That our community was always located on the water, and our village was put here because of the fishing grounds, and on the water because that was our sustenance. That we're a water tribe, and
That's why Peshabi Town is here.
that's exactly why Peshabi Town is on the shoreline, because of the fishing grounds right in front of the village.
Water is fairly calm compared to the rest of the lake. We have our bay.
But even throughout, even not just Peshabi Town, we have our community is Elk Rapids, Charlevoix, Beaver Island. You know, our tribe isn't just in Peshabi Town; it's all on the shoreline, and it all, you know, that's just been our being. That's where you know the Creator meant us to be, and that's where we are, and it's why the improvements that's happened with us came about, because our ancestors, I don't know, I'm so grateful. I can't even imagine that they would know the impact that they're having on us in making those agreements that would preserve this for us, but they did. And that when the federal Judge Fox told the U.S. government, you have to allow them re-recognition in order for them to exercise these rights, that we were able to become federally recognized. But even more importantly, we're a tribe even if we're not federally recognized. We're a native people. We're an Ottawa tribe. Grand Traverse Band for our community, in that the water is what sustained us, because you know, that's back before we were able to have our businesses and all of the financial benefits that came with our federal recognition. Our people dug in, even in poverty, and they stayed on the water, whether it was here or Beaver Island, in Charlevoix. We were the only low-income people in this area, because that's where we're from, and it's where we came from, and that's how important it is to us, because it's who we are.
The water, you know, this water, and this is where a lot of people kind of forget. I don't know if they forget or just decide not to think about it, but, you know, we've had, you know, in Americas, we've had certain bodies of water get dumped, just horrific bunches of oil. But, you know, most of them, not all of them, but most of them were in the ocean. And this is fresh water. This is what we drink. This is what sustains us. Our bodies are what, like 80% water? I mean, water, you know, and just, I think about that a lot. I mean, it's just what, you don't even have to really, I remember taking a couple of my uncles out just for a boat ride one time, and Jerry Warren, he was really thirsty, and he was really thirsty, and I said, well, we get over to Summers Bay pretty soon. And he's like, hey, that's all right. And he reaches down a cup and just dips into the lake and starts drinking it. And I'm like, man, you know, it's not filtered or anything, man. Man, this is Lake Michigan. This is fresh water, Preston. And he just pounded the water down, and he never felt no ill effect. You go out and go out into an ocean and do that. Ain't gonna happen. This is fresh water. we mess around and pollute it more than it's all, you know, with oil. Go drink some then. Just really, you know, it just really needs to stop. The water just has to be taken care of, and it has to be protected, and we shouldn't have to worry about something like that in our waters. You know, forget about, I mean, don't forget about the fish, but I mean, come on. This is what sustains us. And it really does. I mean, maybe I don't go to all the protests and stuff. I'm a little like Jeremy in that respect. But you know, it does touch me, and it bothers me a lot. And you know, I just wish they'd do something different, you know, because it's not going to just take my livelihood away. It's going to take my life. And that's the way more people should feel. It's going to take your life, man. You don't have no more water. What are you going to do? Filter it forever?
Not just us, everybody. It's
Yeah.
It's our whole region, you know, our whole Great Lakes. And I guess what I wonder about is that, because we have the Great Lakes Commission, people from all our states in Canada, is what do they feel on this, you know, because they're really tasked with looking out for our water, you know, internationally and multi-state wise. And I was thinking about that on the ride over here, is, you know, what do those folks think about it? Because that's their role, that's their, you know, that's what their, you know, their work is to, you know, protect this resource. And I don't know if we've heard from them, you know, and it's quite clear what it would do to us regular people, you know, and from our tribe and the U.S. citizens that all depend on it in our water sources. But what are our leaders doing to keep this safe for us? Did they tell you?
Yeah, not at all. The point I guess I can't answer that, Cindy.
Mhm.
I apologize, because that's my role for the tribe. I should be able to answer that, and I can't. But that leads me to, you know, the point I would make is 1953 is when the state of Michigan granted the easement to the predecessor of Enbridge. Now we know it as Enbridge. There was no consultation with any tribes in Michigan. The state of Michigan did not sit down and ask you.
We didn't have any tribes then, did we?
Well, we were
No.
here.
We were here, but
We
we
were
didn't
here,
have
but
any.
we
were
We
here.
didn't have any federal one-to-one.
No recognition.
No recognition.
No,
So there's been no. But let me finish here.
I'm sorry, I
So-
didn't want it. I just
That doesn't change the fact that
no,
it impedes
no,
on our
yes,
treaty
no, I
rights.
understand. that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about.
I meant federally recognized. We
Right.
were here. I didn't
Correct.
mean that. Yes.
Yeah. So that brings me to 1953. The state just authorizes.
So it was a loophole. It was a loophole
And-
for
and if you-
Native people.
And if you look at that administration during that era, there was no pipeline regulations in place. There was state didn't know what it knows now in regards to NEPA or anything like that through the federal government. So they lay this in there. They don't talk to any Native Americans.
It's older than the bridge, right?
I don't know, when was the bridge put in?
58.
58? So it's older than the bridge. Yeah. So the
You know-
pipeline went in 53. We know that.
What maintenance have they done on the bridge since then?
Well, you see the bridge, it's worked on,
always all
right?
the
Worked on the
yeah.
bridge.
Every time you go across it,
It's a
they're up there
rust, it's a
maintaining.
rust
Right.
in progress. It is. And I can't imagine what that pipeline's looking like under the water.
So,
Well, so yesterday at the meeting, we hear from Enbridge, and they tell us, pipeline's great, no problems. In light of their report that says they have these places where the protective coating on the outside of these twin pipelines has actually fallen off,
mhm.
and Enbridge refers to it as holiday. So they noted in the report, there's all of these holidays,
Mhm.
right? That's what they call
I've
them.
got a lot of holidays on the boat, and I know what you're talking about.
So they call them holidays.
Saying the coating's on vacation.
So they're
There's
speaking
big
out of both
flakes that
sides of
come
their
off.
mouth
Yeah.
during the meeting, because they're saying, oh, pipeline's great, it'll last forever. We have holidays, we're missing pieces of protective coating. I guess the point I'm making is, what they tell us is what they want us to know. And they
What we
receive,
wanna hear.
they're afforded a whole lot of protection from the state, from Pipeline Hazardous Safety Materials Agency, the PHMSA, because we never have an opportunity to sit down. And if you look at that 1979 declaratory judgment by Judge Fox that didn't grant, but affirmed, court affirmed, as tribal citizens, our right to fish within those Great Lakes, based it on that treaty of 1836. We're coming up on an anniversary. That was March 28th. So we're coming up on an anniversary for that treaty. But based it on that, and the other side of that is, didn't just say, we have the right to do that, but we have to regulate and we have to manage. And made us an equal player, right, with regards to management at the table with the state of Michigan. But the state of Michigan in 1953 just went ahead and granted this easement, and now GTB and other tribes, but I'll let them speak for themselves because that's what we do. But GTB, we're knocking on that door. We're knocking on PHMSA's door, on EPA's door, on the Army Corps of Engineers' door, on the state of Michigan's door, and we're saying, hey, you're not consulting us. And we're an equal player at the table, and you're not consulting us. So my approach is to view it as an illegal pipeline, because nobody sat down and asked any tribal citizen that has treaty rights what they thought of that pipeline. So that's an illegal pipeline. That's how I view it. That's how I'm going forward. And you know, because of our tribal council passing a resolution in 2014 saying, shut it down, then that's when you pass a resolution as a government, that's a strong message. That's saying, you know, we're not gonna consult with you on this. We're just gonna tell you that's it. We want it out. We want it shut down.
Well, I understand clearer the components right now, Desmond, that back in 1953, we were treaty signed
Yeah.
recognized in the government with our treaties.
Because of an 1836
bans, yes,
treaty.
Bans of people in nations. But in 1953, we were not federally recognized. And so
Excuse
we
me.
were not at the table as a government in those days.
True.
But now, and as of 1979, when Judge Fox affirmed that right, we, our responsibility is to manage and regulate.
Mhm.
And if we don't manage and regulate, and I understand this clearly, that the state can take over and do it for us if we're not doing it correctly. And so I wonder,
Well, it would
If why
require the
can't-
federal court agreeing to it, but yes.
right, I also believe that, that should go likewise
Two-way street.
to, that if they're not managing correctly, that we should take over, and that, I understand the point would be made, that was they didn't have an avenue to us per se, But afterwards, and with this pipeline being aged past, you know, its timeline for wear, is that, when we became, legally recognized in, federal to federal, relationship, that we have a responsibility, and I don't know where it is in their rule books, if they're just gonna say, oh, this got grandfathered in, even though it's not up to today's standards, but to at least, require that they meet today's standards and what's operating under our resource. And that should solve the whole thing, because it's very clear that it's not up to today's safety standards, and if it's not meeting those, it should be moved someplace else.
Every time the company has submitted a response plan, it's been denied. So there's not an accepted emergency response plan currently in place. But the pipeline is still allowed to remain, and it's still allowed to function. And again, there is not an approved emergency response plan in place.
So they can't just turn it off until they get it fixed?
You would
Until
think,
they
right?
have-
Any other function, you wouldn't be allowed to
You wouldn't-
proceed until you had your required plans or whatever it may be in
You
place,
wouldn't let
right?
me do that on my boat.
We wouldn't let you do that on your boat.
No, that would be, you know, because.
That's a great analogy,
Yeah.
because you have to follow federal
I have to follow,
regulations,
I have to
safety
follow Coast
regulations.
Guard, I have to follow Coast Guard rules.
Third
Yeah.
leak,
Yeah.
man.
And you have
know
to have
leak.
inspections on your boat,
I do, yes.
and if you don't pass,
Yeah,
you don't,
I'm not on the water.
right.
Yeah.
But yet there's that pipeline out there that hasn't passed it doesn't have an approved emergency response plan.
Can you explain a little bit about what that means? Because normally there's always an emergency response plan. So what's the major issue with this emergency response plan?
The major issue is it's a very unlikely scenario if we're talking about summertime, Straits of Mackinac. Cindy and Preston have all seen this. You get days in the morning when the wind will lay down and just like glass out there. So let's just imagine one of those days, a nice summer day, pipeline ruptures.
There's current.
There's no way to clean it up in that event. But what's very significant about the Straits, your current is right, but what's real significant about the Straits is like right now, if you cross the Mackinac Bridge, you're going to see large chunks of flow ice. Big, huge icebergs floating around out there. And I would say probably 3 to 4 months out of the year, it's covered in ice. So there's no way to clean a spill up under the ice.
You wouldn't even know it happened for
Do they
quite some
even,
time.
do they even have a
If it was
boom
frozen.
that big?
No, and that's the other thing. Why I say that it's not approved is because if you take all of the resources, you take the state police, you take our Michigan DNR, Michigan DEQ, take all local fire departments, take all the tribal nations, because we're kind of set up to contain, right? We have a marina here,
Mm-hmm,
and the tribe is set up to contain,
right,
and we have a plan in place.
yeah. And we have a boom available.
We have a boom
that goes
available.
crosses that marina.
We have the absorbent pads. Our our fire department's been trained. We've brought fishermen to the training, so we all know how to respond in the event of a spill here. But you take all of those resources and you put them all together, and it's not enough.
No, they don't.
On a nice day in the Straits of Mackinac, it's
I'm-
not enough.
But we have a boom that will go across our marina,
Yeah,
and so you would think they would at least have 2 booms that would go over the straits.
well, the problem is when it ruptures on the bottom, it's got a couple hundred
Sure.
feet to go to hit the surface.
Right.
And you know how the currents work. So it starts to,
That's
this
5
oil
miles of
starts
water.
lifting off, this crude starts coming up and gets hit by a
Irri-
current and taken down there.
irri-
So it would get under a boom.
Irregardless, a boom is the first thing you use.
It is.
That's the first thing you use, and if they're not responsible enough to even have a couple of booms that could go, across the straits, and the equipment to take them across the straits, because, having boats that can run them across the straits, because you need a boat to do it, you need a big facility to have, what is the straits, 5 miles long?
Right.
you need to have a very long boom to go across there, you know? And that, at the very least, they're just saying, if this breaks, we're not gonna deal with it. Is, if they don't even have a boom, I didn't know they didn't have a boom.
Who owns the companies that do cleanup like that?
I have heard. I can't verify. So, I'd rather not say that, but, yeah, I mean, I can't verify.
You know, right now they're just making money. That's all it is, just plain ass greed.
They need to have
You know,
silos at dawn up there,
All the money they're making.
you know, that's,
That's not good.
You know, I know out in London, they have these tunnels. You know, miles, 100 miles of tunnels that they go underneath London, never bother the traffic at all, and they just put a tunnel under there, and that would even be better if they threw a tunnel. I mean, a big tunnel. Something you could drive through and watch. If the thing erupted in the tunnel, then you could take care of it. But if it's in the water, you're just not going to be able to do it. If the lake is frozen, it's like this table. Anything going on under this table, you're not going to know what's going on until it starts breaking up.
how deep is it? How is the deepest?
Couple hundred feet. I can't give you 212,
Can they dive?
230,
Can
but
they,
it's up
can,
to a couple hundred.
can they
and,
actually dive?
and they have. They have.
You can
There's-
actually dive 200 feet?
There's actually video.
But did they dive or
Probably-
use ORVs for it?
There's video of them diving. And
In the shallow
actually,
part.
Right.
But did they dive
Usually
in the
filming it.
200 feet part? Can
don't
you
know
dive
that.
in 200 feet? I don't think you can.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you can.
Pretty sure.
It takes some doing.
Special
Yeah,
You have to
gear.
have
you can't
special
just
gear.
go down and come right back.
But the
You
guy
gotta,
that
like,
I
yeah,
seen
you
the
gotta
video,
decompress.
I seen of the
Decompress.
guy diving, he wasn't in the special gear. You know, they were like in, you could see that it was in the shallow part, maybe the end.
Same
of it.
video where you could see all the zebra muscles and the
Yeah,
broken
yeah,
straps.
Yeah,
and
yeah, but that's not in,
the flaked coating and all
But-
of that.
you're seeing that end of it, but
Yeah, so
Do they-
who knows what's going on?
do
in
they
there.
have like their boat at our marina that has the ORV equipment?
Right.
Do they have a complete video of the whole line?
We haven't seen it, but we've been told it exists. Again, we're told by a company that
Because I'm just bringing that up because if it broke in the middle in 200 feet of water, how could they even deal with that? And if it broke when the water was too cold to deal
They-
with it,
The quickest probably way that they deal with it is just shut the thing down.
Yeah.
And the oil that's
Then-
in the pipeline would just whatever's in there.
How
But
quickly-
by the time they catch it,
How
the
quickly can they do that?
devastation's already there.
how-
Well,
can they shut the line off?
sure.
Yeah, but
Right at the
any
point?
given, I mean, that's 5 miles.
That's
24
5 miles.
inch
20
diameter.
inch, 20
How many
But
millions of
20 inch.
gallons? How many gallons of oil would be in that pipeline just from 5 miles this big? How many gallons would you think are in that?
I was trying to figure that out at 2 o'clock in the morning with
Yeah,
Kevin.
you know what I mean.
And
Well, you
I
just-
can't answer that.
There's a calculator.
It's
for that.
it'll
well,
be
then you go ahead and.
yeah.
It was
that
2 o'clock
takes-
in the morning. We had a long day, so we had some very unique discussions about.
Yeah, but then you'd have to catch it. You'd have to catch it immediately to find out whether it's up ruptured or whatnot, just to be able to shut it down quick. Now, before you shut it down, you got all that oil that's in there right now. But before then, how many gallons?
You're right.
Well, if you just roughed it out to a gallon a foot,
Probably be
times,
more than that.
but just if you even use that as a very
Yeah, that'd be
minute
a
one,
rough idea.
a rough
maybe.
idea on how many feet are in a mile times 5.
Then you're talking about 530,000 gallons right there. Or
You know,
pretty
But
close.
let's be honest, 1,000 gallons is too much.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
it takes. I
Hey,
remember seeing
you
this.
know, 100 gallons is too much.
Exactly.
I
But
see-
I'm just giving a rough, you know. I'm just giving a rough, like, you know.
Well, what was that movie with Cuba Gooding Jr.? He was a deep sea diver. A Few Good Men. No.
He was
Whatever.
in
You
the
know what?
Navy.
Yeah, he was in the Navy. He was a diver, black guy. Okay, the commanding officer says one tablespoon of oil in a ship's millions of gallons of water will contaminate all the water to make it unsafe to drink. 1 tablespoon in all them millions of gallons of water for them guys that drink. 1 tablespoon will ruin it. What's that say? They know that this could devastate our drinking water, and it just needs. When this pipeline was put in '53, we were we were barely citizens. Think about it. Black people down south, they had the black bathrooms in the back. You had to enter in the back. The Indians weren't much different up here.
We didn't get our citizenship until 1924.
You know, and so 53, not a lot changed back then. The prejudice ran everything, you know, it just, but now everybody knows, you know, this isn't the way things are. We're human beings too. And I mean, times have changed. And the way people think about things, perceive each other, totally changed. And it's just, we got to get with the times here, as opposed, you know, not getting with the times and thinking about our water. It bothers me that that we're just letting us. It's just happening, and we can't do a whole lot because these millionaires that own all these guys that are in power, the Enbridge and everybody that wants to make a buck off it, investors all over the place. They choose to just put a blinder on. You know, they don't want to see it. As long as they got that check coming in every month or whatever. And it's time that everybody, I mean everybody, I'm not talking about just the Indians or white people or the black people, I mean everybody. And Donald Trump, you know, hey, check this out, man. If the water, you go drink it. You know, I even voted for you, man. You know, just get with the times and make things right. Because times need to get current. Everything has to get current. And how are you going to go down in history as a guy that said, okay, let keep the pipeline open? Or are you going to be the hero that stopped it? Because you can go one of two ways. You be the guy that just lets it go, turn a blind eye, or you could be the hero that stops this stuff. That's kind of, I mean, we need a hero. And all of us are trying to be little superheroes by standing up. We got a superhero right here. Now, you know, we're all little superheroes, but we need to all stand up like superheroes and say, enough's enough. That's it. And no more of this messing around with what sustains us in life. There's only so much filtration you can. How many millions of dollars of filtration is it going to take to be able to make drinking water good again? Think about that.
Well, the really hard thing is that we have this just beautiful lake, beautiful, awe-inspiring system, and that what's so hurtful for everybody, you know, native and non-native, just for humankind, is why don't we care about it enough to really take care of it? You know, maybe back in those days, you know, I could understand that they got it across there and it's been working, you know, and it's good that it was built as well as it was, because, you know, it's still, you know, not spilling oil in our lake. But now, knowing
how old it is.
Yep, it's outdated.
The deterioration.
Is that it hurts me to think that the people that manage for us don't care about our lake, don't care about this wonderful, irreplaceable system, and all of the creatures that are in it, and what it provides for everyone, that that they're not being responsible and caring and saying that, you know, they shouldn't be here. We don't want to take this risk. We don't want to take this risk with this irreplaceable environment. And you know,
The
this,
lead contamination in Flint would be just a teeny little thing.
no, it's not
Compared,
teeny.
no,
It's not
compared to if this pipeline busts out here in Lake Michigan, it would be.
Well,
You're talking about a
And that's-
lot of millions. You're
and that's
talking, what
hurtful,
was
too,
it,
that
20
they're not
million
helping
right
those
away?
people there. That's very
20
hurtful.
million. And right away.
And I think that's
And
the-
down the line, it would be, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay Flint,
Yeah.
my God.
No,
You know,
I
that's
understand.
horrible.
But I just
But
mean, it's the
in
same
the scheme
thing.
of it all,
It's so
it's
hurtful.
just messed up. Learn a lesson.
It's hurting us because they're not helping those people in a timely manner, and you know, and they're hurting them, and they're hurting us by the fear that we live in because of the potential of this damaging this resource, and if it damages this resource, it's going to be devastating. And that I can't understand how all these people from around the lakes that are managers are making us live in this fear.
And-
Absolutely understand. And earlier you said you were put here by the Creator. What was your role when the Creator put you here? What was your role?
Well, you're supposed to respect and not hurt, you know, the place that he's given you to live.
Be stewards of the land.
Yeah.
Water protectors, for sure.
I'm sorry, I know it looked like I was texting. I wanted to find a calculator to find out how many gallons per pipe. 430,845 per pipe. If it's 5 miles long, 20 inches in diameter.
Wow, so 500,000
Times
gallons.
two.
Times two.
Just two.
100,000.
Million gallons.
Just after they turn it off.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll still be in
100,000.
yeah.
100,000.
Assuming they
Million.
turn it off the second that it has
and
a
you
rupture.
gotta think too, how much are they pumping per hour?
About 1 million per hour.
Okay, if the pipeline goes and bursts, and then it's 10 hours before anybody realizes it.
Yes.
10 million gallons.
I do
Which was-
believe that within their safety rules, and I do need to fact check this, but I've heard this numerous times, and I'm pretty sure it's true, that they have up to 10 days to report a leak on a pipeline without being in trouble.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that's factual, but
I've heard it too. I don't know. I can't vouch
And
for that.
what was the
Which is not true.
Kalamazoo time?
It took them,
Like 17
so
hours?
Kalamazoo, Enbridge, same company, line 6B, when that burst in 2010, it actually took 17 hours for them to hit the button and stop the flow.
But we have to report, according to those rules that you had, we have to report immediately.
Immediately
Or
report.
it's a $24,000 fine from the Coast Guard.
Immediately report.
immediately report what? Sorry.
Any kind of fuel spill from our
Fuel
vessels
spill,
on the Great Lakes.
be it diesel, oil, gas, you know.
So these commercial fishers here have to live by United
Hydraulics.
States Coast Guard vessel regulations. So that includes safety inspections, and within those safety inspections, that includes, you know, they don't only just check for life-saving devices like a PFD, a personal flotation device, or a beacon, a locator, or a whistle or flares, but they also inspect bilges, and they inspect the condition of the vessel, whether or not it's seaworthy. And they can actually be shut down, ordered. If it happens while they're on the lake, they can be ordered back to shore. You know, so they have to abide by a certain set of standards that's way up here.
Yeah.
But you got an oil company pushing crude through a fifth of the world's freshwater, and their regulations are more lax than yours are.
Yeah.
And we did just look as well. The deepest point is 250 feet. in the Straits of Mackinac.
Good to know.
So the challenge is when that does spill and how they're going to deal with that and go down, especially when there's ice. I mean, it doesn't even bear thinking about. I mean, let's say it's one pipeline and it's the Kalamazoo situation, 17 hours of one pipeline. You're looking at what, 8.5 million gallons of oil in your fifth of the world's drinking water?
Mm-hmm.
No. Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't oil heavier than water too?
No, it goes
No,
on.
It's
floats.
the other way.
It floats.
Okay, well, good. That would be the only.
But you're not thinking of the underwater currents.
Mm-hmm.
And so the University of Michigan put out that oil spill simulation model, and what they found with the currents is that your theory was, we'll put a boom here and we put a boom here.
But it might
Pipelines are running here, but it's going to take how long for that oil to say rise to the surface if it's
Right.
250
Yeah.
feet?
show. Right.
And there's undertows and underwater
Yeah.
rip
Right.
currents, and so they've done that model,
It might
and they
be-
showed that spill going into Huron and then moving into Lake Michigan and then
Yeah.
back into Huron
It could-
before it rises to the surface.
It could be in Sheboygan or Beaver Island before you even
Before
see
you
it.
knew it.
See
Yeah.
it.
And they wouldn't know
but what
where
it
it
did
was
show
coming
was
from.
700 miles of shoreline being affected.
Right.
It's horrible.
Well,
700 miles.
I don't like to break this up.
Yeah, I know. I
I'm-
gotta go. I
We're
got a
making
kid at
nets
home.
right now, and my husband is down there
You know, I have to buggy. too.
Working?
buzzing me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I'm getting
I
my
truly appreciate, and the people watching this appreciate. You've
Well,
had
thank
people
you.
in
Thank you, everybody
England.
that's listening. Yes.
You've had
Watch.
people
Yes.
across in Africa watching. You've had someone in Australia watching. There's people who have spoken about the Louisiana spill and the fact that it's still affecting now. You've had people from this local community and further up north talking about it on here as well. So your message has been heard and has been reaching. It's going to reach a lot more people. So truly appreciate you taking the time out of your work and mending those nets and taking the time to do something today to talk about this, because I know this isn't your usual scenario for you. And I truly appreciate it, and everyone here does. So thank you, everybody, for joining.
Well, thank you for.
Well, you know,
thank
one
you for
one
getting
thing
it out
I'd like
the
to.
world.
I'd like to apologize for if I made a comment about Flint or the ocean's problems. I'm not trying to downplay them, because those were horrible and horrific. There's bad stuff. Just don't want it to happen anymore. It shouldn't happen anywhere. And I apologize if I did hurt anyone's feelings about that.
No, you didn't.
That was not my intent.
No.
No, you didn't. It was
I just-
understood.
as well.
It was understood, and also we are going to be going to Flint, and we are talking to people in Flint, people from this tribal community in Flint, about the effect it's had on them. We're going to be visiting the Nestle plant and looking at what Nestle are doing and how they're making money from the Great Lakes, and then selling it back to Flint and making money twice. So we're going to be looking at that whole thing. It's a very sad and exceedingly worrying situation, and thank you again for joining. And everyone who's watching, thank you. Please keep sharing this out and keep checking back all week, because we're going to be showing you the real story here all week. Take care now. Bye bye.
Thank you.